Hi, I'm Patricia Allingham Carlson, and this is an end-to-end video of my painting, Orange Poppy 2. I was stuck on a more complicated painting, and after taking a little walk out in the garden, I decided to break this complicated one up with some floral painting, something pretty and intricate and challenging, just till I could come back to my other painting. This is part 3 of 4, and in this part, I do a lot more glazing, I do a lot more color lifting, and then you'll see me actually put the leaves of the poppy right onto the paper, which is a technique I enjoy using in order to show placement and whether they will indeed enhance the painting. I sort of have some fun with this, and I use it a lot. I hope you like this video, and check out the links below and you can see some of the products that I like to use. Now let's paint. I'm on the poppies. This is the third section, and I'm filling in the petals that weren't quite right or needed to have some work and drying done before I continued. Mixing up my alizarin crimson with my mauve to make a good strong dark color. And I have to watch out that I don't start to become muddy or too many colors on top of the dark layer. I put the darks on, and then I blend them with water on my damp brush, enhancing the folds. I think it's important to step away from your work and look at it from across the room periodically, just to evaluate whether it's saying what you want it to say, where it needs to be broken or softened, and where it needs to be accented more. So I will do that every half an hour or a little bit less frequently, perhaps 45 minutes. I had decided I needed to highlight some more of the folded petals, and that's what I'm doing here by removing paint with my damp brush. Here I'm dipping into the water, damp brush, blending, removing paint, blotting it, or just drying off my brush to get the pigment off. To lighten those highlight spots. I'm still referring directly to the flower in the vase in front of me, or the petal that had fallen off in front of me. continuing to use my dark mix to go back then and accent. If you've been watching this particular series, you'll have seen that I've put at least 3 layers of darks, 3 glazes of darks in many areas. And that's part of the thing that takes some patience with watercolor for whatever effect you're trying to reach. Too dark right off to boot may not even appear transparent. And with watercolor, you want to try to preserve your transparent quality of the paint. Glazing allows that to happen better than making one thick layer at the beginning, because the paper can still show through the glazes of color. Now I've looked carefully at the center of the poppy to study the structure and how it goes together. And I'm looking at the actual colors of this poppy. From what I've seen of poppies in art, the center is black and the outside is bright. But since I try not to use a lot of black in a naturalistic painting, I'm really looking closely. This center has different colors to it, including a blue-green and some very deep purples. It has a definite structure, which also would change according to the angle we're looking at the center of the flower at. Now at this point I realize that the many little pieces that go out around this central portion do indeed go out over top of color, which I have left entirely blank. This is not a solid color, but rather little pieces and stamens reaching out over the colored interior of the poppy. So I am adding color to the center, and I'll be installing the stamens, the little thin parts, on top of this color. It's quite dark at the bottom and much lighter and brighter at the top. Adding some more darks to get that accented as dark as I can without using black. I'm mixing purple and indigo together. And here I begin to add all these little circular tips for the individual stamens coming out from the center. They are little tops holding the pollen for the poppy, and each one is attached to a very thin stalk. I'm keeping my brushwork very small but very loose because I want variety in the appearance of these little tiny stamens. They do not all go in the same direction. They overlap. Some stick out further, some are very short, and they twist and turn in a direction as well. So having randomness at this point is as important as it is in the petals. A little drying time, and I go back to the sea and decide if I need to add some greens to the painting. I have some actual leaves from the poppy, and what my eye sees is that it does enhance the coloring. And I'm arranging the leaves in different locations to see where they look right and what direction looks right. When I decide what looks correct to me, I begin to sketch them in. When you add something to the background after you've already completed the subject, it's important to make sure that the added thing is incorporated by overlapping the subject back on top of it after you've finished painting the background. Here I'm primarily using sap green. The darks are being painted in a hooker's green dark. If you look at the actual leaves laying to the left of my paper, you'll see they are not all the same color. Some areas are much darker, some have more yellow in them, some would appear to be more indigo. So varying the color of the leaves is, I believe, to be an important step. I've also tried to preserve the central vein of the leaf for some interest. That will be painted in more later. Now this leaf has a lot of yellow at the bottom, so I am starting out with a yellow-green. Working wet into wet, the yellow blends nicely into the sap green that I'm using. And once I get the blend I like, I try to leave it alone until it's dry. At that point, I can then glaze darker colors on top or add what's needed. Some more accent on the work on the flower is required, and some more tweaking on the leaves, but I believe this will be done pretty soon. Hope you get to see the next episode. Thank you for watching. I hope you got some ideas out of my videos. I do appreciate your likes, and I hope you'll subscribe. You know, if you click on the bell and select all, you'll get a ring each time I post a new video. Your comments are welcome too, and there's links below that show many of the products that I personally use for you to check out. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next video.